Chapter 1. Miss Sterling, your resignation has been approved by Mr. Preston, but he didn't notice it was you who resigned. Should I remind him? Hearing the news over the phone, Clara Sterling slowly lowered her gaze. No, it's fine, let it be. But you've been Mr. Preston's secretary for 4 years. He was always most satisfied with you, and he really relied on you. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider resigning? The HR representative tried to persuade her earnestly, but Clara Sterling just smiled. No one is truly indispensable. My parents aren't well, and I need to go back to my hometown to look after them and, well, perhaps settle down. Since Mr. Preston approved it, I'll follow procedure, hand over my work, and leave in a month. Thank you for your help. After hanging up, Clara Sterling continued clearing out her belongings. She had lived in this villa for 3 years. She had a fair amount of things. She kept some essentials and threw everything else away. Seeing the room gradually empty, she felt a momentary daze as countless memories flooded back. 8 years ago, Clara Sterling, a girl from an ordinary small-town family, got into Hillcrest University and became best friends with Imogen Preston, the young lady of a wealthy Northwood City family. The two girls, from vastly different backgrounds, hit it off exceptionally well. They attended classes, ate meals, and went shopping together, becoming inseparable. Gradually, Clara was drawn into Imogen's circle, met her family, and fell in love with her older brother, Quentin Preston. But she kept these feelings buried deep in her heart, telling no one. After graduation, Imogen went abroad to study. Clara stayed in Kingsbridge, submitted her resume, and became Quentin Preston's secretary, just so she could see him often. Until one day, an incident occurred. Quentin was drugged. Clara was about to call for medical help when Quentin, unable to control himself, pinned her against the wall, and an overwhelming storm of kisses fell upon her. After a night of passion, she woke to see him sitting by the window, his sharply defined features veiled in swirling smoke, looking composed yet desolate. Hearing her stir, he turned and asked just one question. "You like me?" Clara instinctively wanted to deny it, but he continued, his expression calm. "You blush every time you see me. You remember all my dislikes and preferences. You rushed to become my secretary right after graduation. Don't tell me these are all coincidences." His words, spoken one by one, made her face turn completely red, whether from embarrassment or shame, she couldn't tell. In the dead silence, he suddenly handed her a card. "Last night was an accident. I'm in love with someone else. I can't return your feelings, nor can I take responsibility for you. I heard from Imogen that your family background is ordinary. This card has enough money for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Forget all of this." Clara was stunned. Only then did she remember that he had indeed been calling out a name in bed last night. Rosalind Ainsworth. According to Imogen, Rosalind Ainsworth was Quentin's unforgettable first love. He loved her so much that even after she broke up with him and went abroad, despite her constant stream of rumored boyfriends, he insisted on waiting for her to return. Clara remembered Imogen once saying while venting, "We Prestons are usually so cold-hearted and detached. How did my brother turn out to be such a lovesick fool, waiting all these years? He even says that anyone but her would be just settling, and he refuses to settle." She empathized deeply with that sentiment. Remembering it now, she suddenly mustered her courage and called out to Quentin, who was about to leave. "I don't want money. I just want you to give me a chance. Mr. Preston, please try being with me. If she doesn't come back, or if she does come back and you still haven't moved on from her, on that day, I will leave on my own accord." Faced with her eyes full of love, Quentin froze for a few seconds, then left with a curt, "Suit yourself." From then on, Clara was his secretary by day and his private lover by night. They had countless reckless encounters in his office, his Maybach, and by the villa's floor-to-ceiling windows. 4 years passed. No one knew about their relationship, and she willingly accepted this secret arrangement, until his birthday a few days ago. Clara had prepared many surprises, wanting to celebrate with him, but she waited until dawn and he never appeared. Instead, she saw a social media post from him. The best birthday gift is having what was lost and found again. Quentin, who had never posted online before, shared a photo of himself kissing Rosalind Ainsworth under a sky full of fireworks. Seeing the photo, the color drained from Clara's face and her heart clenched. Clutching at a final sliver of hope, she called him. but it was Rosalind who answered. After saying hello several times with no response, Rosalind called out to Quentin, "Quentin, who is this Clara Sterling? She called you but isn't saying anything." A moment later, his low, indifferent voice came through the speakerphone to Clara's ears. "Just someone unimportant. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep, darling." In that instant, Clara knew it was time for her to make her exit. She packed her belongings, intending to leave, but ran into Quentin at the door. Because they had been sleeping together every night, Clara had been staying at his villa for convenience. But now she couldn't stay any longer. Seeing her holding her things, his gaze sharpened slightly, but he didn't try to stop her. "Found a place?" "Yes, the same rental I had before. I've arranged it with the landlord just for a month." Hearing this, Quentin frowned slightly. "A month? Why?" Clara was about to explain, but he seemed uninterested and said in a deep voice, "I'll drive you." She wanted to refuse, but Quentin insisted. "The snow is too heavy, and it's very late. If something happened to you, Imogen would be upset." Clara had no choice but to get in. They had shared countless reckless moments in this car, but now she barely recognized it. It was filled with cute stuffed animals. The seat covers were Hello Kitty themed, and snacks were scattered everywhere. Clara found it hard to imagine that a man as decisive, cool, and ascetic as him would decorate his car like this. Perhaps noticing her gaze, Quentin explained, "Rosalind likes these things." Clara understood the implication. After a long silence, she replied softly, "You finally have her back, Mr. Preston. I'm very happy for you." Quentin hadn't expected her to say that. His eyes darkened slightly, and he said no more. Halfway there, Rosalind called, saying she wanted to build a snowman with him. He pulled the car over, wanting to rush to her immediately, but then he looked at Clara beside him and hesitated. Clara knew what he was hesitating about and proactively opened her door. "Mr. Preston, I'll get a cab back," Quentin said, and got out to help with her things. Her hand slipped and a box fell to the ground. He bent down, and in the streetlight, he saw the scattered contents. His body stiffened for a moment. Love letters addressed to him but never sent, candid photos of him she had secretly taken at some point, and things he had casually discarded, which she had picked up and treasured. Clara's heart leaped, and she frantically gathered them up. "Sorry." Quentin said nothing, got back into his car alone, and sped off. Clara waited alone in the snow for a long time but couldn't get a cab. She decided to walk home, carrying her box, but was knocked down by an electric scooter. A long, deep gash opened on her calf, and blood pooled on the ground. Watching the hit-and-run scooter speed away, she sucked in sharp breaths from the pain, lying in the snow for a long time, unable to recover. After the worst of the pain subsided, she limped heavily through the snow for 4 hours before finally reaching her rental apartment. After tending to her wound, she opened her phone and found a message Quentin had sent after he left. "Don't be so hopelessly devoted to one person in the future. There are plenty of other men out there. Don't waste your life pining for me." Clara stared at the message for a very long time. When dawn broke, she went downstairs and started a fire, burning everything in that box. And the fervent, unceasing love that had burned within her for 8 years turned to ashes along with it. "Quentin Preston," she thought, "I will do as you wish." Chapter 2. After resting for 2 days over the weekend, Clara Sterling went to the company on time on Monday. She handled her work as usual and informed Quentin Preston that a meeting was due to start soon. Walking to his office, she saw Rosalind Ainsworth through the slightly ajar door. Rosalind was sitting on Quentin's lap, feeding him a half-eaten cookie. The man, usually a stickler for cleanliness, ate it with a smile, kissed her fingers affectionately, and spoke gently. "You mentioned yesterday you were craving desserts from this place. I queued for 3 hours this morning to buy them. How do they taste?" "They taste great, sweet but not cloying, just like before. You used to go out of your way to buy them for me every few days. You're the CEO of a major group now. Why are you still going yourself? You could just send a secretary." Quentin gently massaged her ankle, his eyes overflowing with adoration. "When it comes to you, I only want to do things myself. I don't want to delegate." A sweet smile appeared on Rosalind's face. She proactively wrapped her arms around him and kissed him. He returned her embrace, deepening the kiss, lost in the moment. Watching this scene, Clara's breath hitched, and a wave of bitterness spread through her chest. She clenched her fists so tightly her knuckles turned white, her palms raw and bleeding. Time ticked by, and the meeting time was fast approaching. Clara composed herself and raised her hand to knock on the door. "Mr. Preston, the meeting is about to start." Hearing her voice, Quentin paused slightly. He was about to get up when Rosalind pulled him back. "I don't want you to go. Stay with me a little longer." Seeing her act coquettishly, Quentin's heart melted. Postpone the meeting for 2 hours. The project to be discussed in this meeting concerned a collaboration between several major corporations in Kingsbridge and was crucial for the company's future development. Clara knew its importance and couldn't help but remind him. "The CEOs from Linden Corp., Grant Corp., and Sheldon Corp. are already waiting in the conference room." "Oh, Quentin, your secretary is so annoying she has no tact at all." Hearing Rosalind's complaint, Quentin's expression turned cold. "I said, postpone it for 2 hours. No work is more important than Rosalind." Clara's chest felt tight, and she found it hard to breathe. But in the end, she just closed the door and turned away silently. Everyone in their circle knew Quentin Preston was a workaholic. No matter how busy he was with personal matters, even if he had just had surgery, he would deal with work while ill. This was the first time he had postponed such an important meeting, risking offending business partners just because of a few coquettish words. Did he love Rosalind Ainsworth that much? Clara lowered her dull eyes, forced herself to regain her composure, and walked into the conference room to apologize to the directors. The Preston family was powerful and influential. Although these CEOs were displeased, they didn't dare criticize Quentin Preston, so they vented their anger on her. She didn't dare to retort, only lowering her head to listen to their reprimands and scolding. She endured it for 2 long hours before Quentin finally arrived. As she dragged her aching legs out of the conference room, Rosalind called out to her. "So you're Clara Sterling? Quentin said you make excellent coffee. I think everyone in the office is a bit tired. Go and prepare a cup for everyone. Mine with ice, no sugar." Clara knew Rosalind was acting so imperiously because she was relying on Quentin's affection. Clara didn't dare disobey and went to the break room. It took her 2 hours to make over 400 cups of coffee, bringing them out one by one. But as soon as Rosalind took the first sip, her expression changed. She picked up the cup and threw it. The hard mug hit Clara's forehead, creating a bloody gash that looked horrifying. Clara grunted in pain, her face contorting, and she clutched her wound as she fell to the ground. Rosalind, not yet satisfied, picked up more coffee cups and kept throwing them at her. Clara's whole body was bruised, and shattered ceramic pieces left bloody scratches. Brown coffee liquid drenched her, mixing with crimson blood that dripped onto the floor. She was in agony but could only curl up, protecting her head and chest. The office was dead silent. No one dared to step forward and intervene. They all watched from afar as Rosalind threw her tantrum. Soon, the commotion attracted Quentin. He looked at the mess on the floor and Clara, lying there covered in wounds, his brow furrowed. "What happened?" Seeing him, Rosalind immediately put on a pitiful expression. "Quentin, I asked your secretary to make me a coffee. I'm on my period, and she added ice to my cup. My stomach hurts so much." Seeing her reddened eyes, Quentin's face instantly darkened. "You've been with me for 4 years, and you can't even do this simple thing, right? Or do you have a problem with Rosalind and are deliberately targeting her?" Clara lifted her pale face, wanting to explain, but he didn't give her a chance, directly calling for his assistant. "Clara Sterling has violated company regulations. Dock this month's salary and quarterly bonus, issue a company-wide notice, and she is to make a self-criticism at next week's general meeting." With that, Quentin took off his jacket, picked up Rosalind, and left. Chapter 3, watching his receding figure, the tears Clara had held back for so long finally fell. She forced herself to get up, endured the pain, and brought a broom and mop to clean up the shattered cups and coffee. A few kind colleagues came to help, their eyes filled with pity for her. "I clearly heard that young lady say ice, no sugar. Why did she falsely accuse you like that? Clara, did you offend her in some way? Does she even need to be offended? I've heard many people say she's always this arrogant and domineering. She throws a fit at the slightest displeasure. Many people in our circle can't stand her, but because Mr. Preston dotes on her, no one dares to provoke her. Sigh, I've never seen Mr. Preston like someone so much. Claire, be more careful in the future. We're just ordinary people, we can't compare to these heiresses. She also has Mr. Preston backing her. Even if you're truly wronged, you'll just end up being a scapegoat. Clara knew they meant well, but hearing their words, she felt a mix of emotions and couldn't say a word. Once, a contract she handled had a problem. It was the client company's fault, but they blamed her. Faced with their accusations and pressure, Quentin had firmly believed it wasn't her fault and argued forcefully to clear her name. But now, Rosalind told a casual lie, and he didn't even verify it, nor did he give Clara a chance to explain, simply pushing all the blame onto her. She had worked diligently, handling so many troubles for him. In the end, didn't she even deserve this little bit of trust? Or was it that in his heart, right and wrong didn't matter, as long as Rosalind Ainsworth was happy? Thinking of this, Clara felt an unbearable bitterness and a sharp pain in her heart. It took her a long time to clean everything up. She dragged her exhausted body home. Just as she finished freshening up, Quentin called again. "Bring some brown sugar water and a heating pad over." She prepared everything as quickly as possible and delivered it to his villa. She hadn't seen it for 2 or 3 days, but the villa, once minimalist and grand in her memory, had completely changed. The peach trees old Mr. Preston had planted himself were removed, replaced with a garden of tulips. The black and white furniture in the rooms had all been swapped for a pink and yellow palette that Quentin disliked the most. Display cabinets were filled with countless pieces of jewelry, bags, and gifts. It was clearly Rosalind's style. Clara silently observed all this, walked to the lit bedroom, and knocked on the door. After a moment, Quentin opened the door, took the items, and then glanced at her. After washing off the coffee, the wound on her face looked even more shocking, making him freeze for a second. "Is it that bad? Have you seen a doctor?" Clara didn't speak, just shook her head. He pressed his temples, his tone uncharacteristically gentle. "Rosalind was just not feeling well. She didn't mean to take it out on you. Don't take it to heart. I'll add the docked salary to your year-end bonus. Go to the hospital later. If it's serious, take a few days off. I'll approve the leave, no need to go through formal procedures." "No need, I'll be leaving after this month anyway." Clara wanted to tell him she was about to resign, but he didn't let her finish, handing her a card and interrupting her. "Be good. I also need you to help organize a welcome party for Rosalind. Rest well and take care of yourself." The unspoken words caught in Clara's throat. She mumbled and took the card and left the villa. The moment the door closed, she heard Rosalind's coquettish voice. "Quentin, isn't the brown sugar water ready yet? I want you to rub my tummy." "I'll be right there, just lie down and don't move." Hearing his gentle, tender tone, Clara smiled silently, a hint of self-mockery in her eyes. She also suffered from severe menstrual cramps. Several times, she had fainted at the company from the pain and been taken to the hospital by colleagues. When he found out, he had only approved her leave, never visited her, and certainly never prepared any brown sugar water or heating pads. At the time, she thought he was too busy to get away, but now it seemed it was simply because he didn't like her, so he didn't care. After leaving the villa, Clara went to the hospital and had her wound bandaged. She rested at home for a few days and then received the party plan from his assistant. From the choice of flowers to the types of desserts, and even the staff's attire, the requirements were extremely stringent. Clara only had 3 days. She had to pull herself together and prepare everything. After a long period of busy work, the party she had organized kicked off at 7 in the evening. Rosalind Ainsworth, wearing a haute couture gown, made her entrance under the gaze of the entire room. Guests flocked to her, flattering her and making her ecstatic. "It's been years, Miss Ainsworth. You're still as noble, elegant, and radiant as ever. Even a welcome party for you is so grand. It seems Mr. Preston's affection for you truly hasn't changed a bit. I remember back in school, when someone confessed to Rosalind, Mr. Preston found out and forced the person to transfer schools. He tore up every love letter he saw. When some people gossiped about Rosalind behind her back, he went to teach those troublemakers a lesson, beating them until they had broken bones. Who in our circle doesn't know that Rosalind is Mr. Preston's first love, his cherished treasure, the apple of his eye? Look at the jewelry Rosalind is wearing. It must be worth tens of millions, right? This gown is also custom-made, one of a kind globally. To make Rosalind happy, Mr. Preston has always spared no expense." Chapter 4, Clara Sterling stood a short distance away, listening silently, not saying a word. Rosalind Ainsworth walked over smugly, her eyes full of disdain as she looked at her. You did a good job with the party, but there's a small issue. There's no carpet in the main hall, and my dress got dirty. To make up for this oversight, you can hold my train. Clara lowered her head, her tone neither servile nor overbearing. Please wait a moment, Miss Ainsworth. There are carpets backstage. I'll have someone lay them down immediately. Seeing her dare to refuse, Rosalind's face darkened instantly. Quentin Preston happened to walk in. Seeing Rosalind unhappy, he immediately approached her. What's wrong? Quentin, I don't want to get my dress dirty. I asked your secretary to hold my train, but she refused. Is she still holding a grudge against me for last time? Seeing Rosalind's aggrieved look, Quentin quickly pulled her into his arms and looked at Clara with narrowed eyes. It's just holding a train. It's part of your duties. This isn't your first day as a secretary, is it? Can't you even handle such a small thing? The surrounding guests also started gossiping, their remarks sarcastic. How dare a mere secretary give Miss Ainsworth attitude? Doesn't she know her place? People are different. Some young ladies are born to be pampered. For someone like you, being asked to hold a train at a party is already an honor. Don't be ungrateful. Hearing these sarcastic remarks, Clara's eyes dimmed. She suppressed her humiliation and bent down to lift the train. Rosalind dragged Quentin around, up and down the stairs, deliberately tormenting her. The hem of the dress was adorned with many pearls. Clara's arms ached from holding it up, but she could only endure. Rosalind wasn't finished yet. She had someone bring over a lot of wine and beckon to Clara with her finger. I don't feel like drinking today, but my friends came to the party, so it's hard to refuse. You drink all of this for me. I'm allergic to alcohol. Quentin, look at her. Just as Clara was about to explain, Rosalind started acting coquettishly. Quentin also knew she was allergic to alcohol, but to make Rosalind happy, he had to agree. Don't you carry allergy medication with you? Take it and then drink. It should be fine. His non-negotiable tone made Clara's heart sink to the bottom. Her face paled a few shades. Silently, she took out her medication and swallowed a few pills. Soon, a group of people came over with wine glasses to chat. She also picked up a glass and poured the wine down her throat. Glass after glass, her stomach churned, and she couldn't stop the urge to vomit. Her head felt like it was filled with paste, muddled and heavy. Her vision became blurry. In a dizzy spell, Clara heard Rosalind scream. Quentin, the necklace you gave me is gone. Only your secretary was near me just now. She must have sticky fingers and stole it. Hearing this baseless accusation, Clara briefly regained her senses. Mr. Preston, it wasn't me. Quentin looked at Rosalind's reddened eyes, then at the thoroughly drunk Clara, his expression becoming more serious. There were a lot of people around just now. Maybe it just got lost. Let's look around first. But Rosalind was relentless, forcefully shaking off his hand. Who else could it be? I'm so anxious because it's the necklace you gave me. Yet you still want to protect her if you won't search her, then don't ever come looking for me again. Saying this, she angrily tried to leave. Quentin quickly hugged her and coldly called for the bodyguards. The next second, several bodyguards pinned Clara to the ground, tearing at her clothes. Her mind went blank. She struggled desperately but was no match for their brute force. Her blouse was torn to shreds, her skirt ripped, and her skin was bruised, red, and streaked with blood. An overwhelming sense of humiliation washed over her, making her cry out for help. I didn't do it, it really wasn't me, but her cries were met only with rougher treatment. Several bodyguards grabbed her underwear, on the verge of pulling it off. Quentin couldn't bear to watch and was about to call them off when several waiters ran over. We found it, the necklace fell on the stairs. In an instant, all eyes in the hall fell on the dazzling diamond necklace in their hands. Quentin's tightly furrowed brow relaxed a little. He waved his hand, motioning for the bodyguards to retreat. Then, he picked up the necklace and personally put it around Rosalind's neck, his tone softening. The necklace is found. Don't be angry anymore, okay? Rosalind finally smiled through her tears. She looked at Clara, who was a complete mess on the floor, hugged Quentin's arm, and acted coquettishly again. Thank goodness it was found, or I would have been upset for a long time. But your secretary suffered such a great injustice because of this. Should I apologize to her? At once, everyone's gaze fell on the disheveled Clara. Faced with these malicious stares, she could only curl into a ball, hugging herself tightly. Amidst her endless pain, she heard Quentin's cold voice. No need to apologize, she's just a secretary. It's no big deal for her to suffer a little. Chapter 5, a simple sentence, yet it pierced Clara Sterling's chest like a sharp blade, mangling her insides. Her already battered heart felt like it was about to be torn apart, plunging her into unbearable pain. Her mind buzzed, her eyes filled with nothing but a numb emptiness. The people in the hall had dispersed at some point, leaving only the glaring lights that clearly illuminated the wounds on her body. She endured the pain and got up, picked up a jacket a kind waiter had left nearby, wrapped it around herself, and staggered away. Outside, it was pouring rain. Oblivious, she walked into it. Cold raindrops hit her face, then trickled down like tears. But she couldn't shed a single tear anymore. She didn't know where she was going, aimlessly wandering the streets. After a short while, a car stopped beside her. The window rolled down, revealing Quentin Preston's cold, handsome face. "Get in!" Clara, as if she hadn't heard, dragged her heavy body forward through the rain. Quentin frowned, his voice a little sharper. "Get in." Clara stopped, lifted her pale, bloodless face, and looked at him. "Don't trouble yourself, Mr. Preston. I'm just a secretary, after all." Her frosty tone made Quentin's heart tremble violently. He opened the car door, stepped out into the rain, walked to her side, and gripped her hand tightly. "Tonight, I didn't handle things well. But I've already lost Rosalind once, I can't lose her a second time. I'll find a way to make up for the humiliation you suffered. Don't be angry with me over this." This time, Clara didn't compromise. She used her last bit of strength to break free from his grip, took a few steps back, her voice like stagnant water. "You must be joking, Mr. Preston. How could an ordinary person like me dare to be angry with distinguished people like you and Miss Ainsworth? It was my naivety and foolishness, before that, made me unable to see my own position. From now on, I will always remember I am just a secretary and will not disturb your life anymore. Are you satisfied? Can you let me go now?" The more she spoke like this, the angrier Quentin became. His face turned cold, his emotions already out of control. "You know perfectly well I don't mean that I've never looked down on you. I only said those things to appease Rosalind. In my heart, you and Imogen—" Clara didn't hear a word of what he said next. The scene before her grew increasingly blurry, her eyelids heavy as if filled with lead. All her strength was gone. Her body swayed, and she lost consciousness. She didn't know how much time had passed. When she opened her eyes again, Clara found herself in a hospital. Her wet clothes had been changed, her wounds treated and bandaged. There was medicine and hot water on the bedside table. A nurse was adjusting her IV drip. Seeing her awake, the nurse gave a kind smile. "You're awake. Your boyfriend stayed with you all night yesterday. He just left." Clara opened her dry lips, her voice incredibly hoarse. "He's not my boyfriend, he never was." She and Quentin Preston, from the very beginning, were just an accident. Other than the identity of a secretary, he had never acknowledged any other relationship between them. Before, she had deceived herself, even fantasizing about a future. But now, she just wanted to wake herself up, and then leave this place forever, never to return. Chapter 6, Clara Sterling stayed in the hospital for a few days. Quentin Preston didn't visit again, merely sending a message through his assistant, telling her to rest well and return to work when she recovered. Clara didn't feel sorry for herself anymore. She allowed her overworked body to fully recover before being discharged. During this time, the company's small chat group was buzzing with discussions about Quentin and Rosalind Ainsworth. He had booked out Disneyland for a week to celebrate her birthday. Dazzling fireworks lit up the sky for 3 consecutive days. He took her to a family dinner, placing a bracelet meant only for a daughter-in-law onto her hand. He bought a piece of land to build a private ski resort, its name intimately connected to Rosalind. Clara quietly read these messages, her heart already devoid of any ripples. After being discharged, she clocked in at work as usual, meticulous in her tasks. However, for matters requiring Quentin's attention, she would ask other colleagues in the secretarial office to handle them. After a week of much-needed peace, Quentin called her again. She delivered the documents he wanted and was about to leave when he stopped her. "I have a meeting. Rosalind doesn't like eating alone. You stay here and keep her company." Her face stiffened. She was about to refuse when Rosalind, out of habit, started ordering her around. "I like shrimp. Peel a plateful for me first." Quentin closed the study door. Clara could only swallow her words and walk to the dining table. After peeling a plate of shrimp, Rosalind had someone bring a large platter of walnuts and jackfruit. I also want some fruit after the meal. There are no tools here, so use your hands. Looking at the hard nutshells and sharp thorns, Clara's heart sank. She knew Rosalind was deliberately trying to torment her, but she could only comply. After shelling the walnuts and opening the jackfruit, both her hands were pricked and bleeding profusely. Rosalind still wouldn't let her off, forcing her to go to the kitchen to bring soup. The soup, just taken off the stove, was so hot it scalded her hands red. The pain was so intense she couldn't hold it steady. Her hand slipped, and the scalding soup spilled onto her. Steam billowed up, and within seconds, several blisters appeared on her hands. A searing pain shot through her. She bit her lip hard to stop herself from groaning in agony. Seeing Clara fall to the ground, Rosalind was gleeful. The next second, seeing the study door open, she quickly wiped the smile off her face and began to scold her pretentiously. "Quentin told me you were capable. How could you spill a bowl of soup like that? You even scalded my hand." Hearing this, Quentin immediately became anxious and strode over. "Where did you get scalded? Let me see, does it hurt?" Rosalind held up the hand she had just pinched red for him to see, squeezing out a couple of tears. "A few drops splashed on me. I wonder if it will leave a scar." "How do you do things? Rosalind has been pampered since she was a child and has never suffered any injury. I asked you to bring a bowl of soup, and you scalded her, didn't you know, to stay further away?" Quentin's face darkened, and he couldn't help but scold Clara. But seeing the injuries on her body, he couldn't bring himself to say anything too harsh. He could only pick up Rosalind to treat her hand. Before leaving, seeing Clara still standing there stunned, he called out to her in a deep voice. "You come to the hospital too, get yourself treated." Clara could only endure the pain and follow him into the car. Along the way, Quentin drove very fast. Rosalind, not wanting him to discover she was faking, would cry out in pain from time to time. His heart ached hearing her, and he would turn his head to look at her every few moments. With his attention so divided, he didn't see the sports car speeding towards them. With a loud bang, the two cars collided head-on. Under the powerful inertia, Clara's body slammed uncontrollably into the car door. It felt as if her internal organs had shifted. Excruciating pain shot through her entire body. Blood gushed out, dyeing her world crimson. Her body trembled uncontrollably. She managed to force her eyelids open and saw Quentin getting out of the car, carrying Rosalind. The sound of an ambulance siren approached from a distance. In a daze, she heard two urgent voices. "Sir, this lady just fainted from shock. The passenger in the back seat is bleeding heavily and is more seriously injured. If she's not taken to the hospital immediately, her life could be in danger." Chapter 7. No, Rosalind must be sent to the hospital first. I absolutely cannot let anything happen to her. Nothing else matters more than her safety. Quentin Preston's impatient, frantic roar was the last thing Clara Sterling heard before she lost consciousness. An endless darkness surged up, completely engulfing her. Clara felt as if she had been trapped in a very long nightmare. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and saw Imogen Preston, her eyes red. "Clara, I just got back to the country and heard you were in an accident and hospitalized. The doctor said you lost a lot of blood and almost didn't make it." I was scared to death seeing her. All the grievances Clara had suppressed surged out. Her eyes reddened, and she couldn't help but hug Imogen tightly. "Don't worry, I'm fine." The two friends hugged for what felt like an eternity. Then, Imogen poured a glass of water and helped Clara drink it, remembering the doctor's instructions and steering the conversation to lighter topics. "Have you been happy here these past few years? Has my brother bullied you? Didn't you have a boyfriend? When are you going to introduce him to me? I need to vet him properly. If he's not good to you, I won't approve of you two being together." The expression on Clara's face froze. "Mr. Preston is very professional. He hasn't bullied me. My boyfriend? We've already broken up." Imogen hadn't expected them to break up so soon. Worried Clara might be heartbroken, she quickly comforted her. "It's okay. As the old saying goes, bye-bye to the bad guy, hello to the next good guy. I know lots of handsome men. I'll introduce them all to you." Before she could finish, the ward door was pushed open, and Quentin walked in, his face grim. "Introduce what? No introductions. Those playboys you know, none of them are suitable." Hearing him reject the idea outright, Imogen pouted instantly. What playboys? Bro, can you not just say things like that? They've only had 2 or 3 girlfriends. Do you think everyone is as devoted as you, hung up on Rosalind Ainsworth like she's the only tree in the forest? Besides, I'm introducing my friend to a boyfriend. Bro, why do you even care about this? Hearing this, a fire ignited in Quentin's heart, his tone laced with anger. I said, no introductions means no introductions. You can't force matters of the heart. Don't play matchmaker randomly. Yes, matters of the heart cannot be forced. Unfortunately, it had taken her 4 years to understand this. Clara smiled silently, tugged Imogen's hand, and looked at him calmly. Imogen is just kidding. Mr. Preston, is there something you need? Seeing her safe and sound, Quentin breathed a slight sigh of relief. He instinctively wanted to say he came to see her, but the words changed as they left his lips. Nothing. Imogen heard you were in an accident and rushed to the hospital as soon as she landed. I came to take her home and check on you in passing. All right, bro, I'll go home tonight. You can leave first. Clara is seriously injured. You're not to give her any more work. After Imogen finished speaking, she shooed him out. With only the 2 friends left in the room, Imogen started speaking well of Quentin again. Don't mind my brother being fierce. He's actually very good to you. The nurse said you were on the brink of death yesterday, and he mobilized blood from all over the city to save you. Chapter 8. Hearing this, Clara Sterling paused for a moment. But a moment later, clarity returned. He had mobilized blood from all over the city merely because he didn't want her to die. However, if it came down to one of them having to die, between her and Rosalind Ainsworth, that person would undoubtedly be her. Therefore, she would harbor no more illusions about him. For her last few days in Kingsbridge, Clara recuperated in the hospital. When the nurses came for their rounds, they would occasionally mention the VIP ward upstairs. I heard the CEO of Preston Group booked the entire floor and even invited several retired professors from Kingsbridge, all to take care of his girlfriend. I've seen it several times. Mr. Preston personally brings his girlfriend tea and water, buys her lots of jewelry and gifts to cheer her up, and stays by her bedside all night. He's so doting. Clara listened to this gossip silently, her hand touching her chest. There was no feeling there, just a slightly slow beat. It seemed the wound in her heart was also about to heal. On the day of her discharge, Imogen Preston had planned to pick her up but was held up by family matters. Clara reassured her briefly, left the hospital alone, and returned to the company. Today was her last day of employment. She followed the procedures to finalize her resignation. She was carrying her box, intending to leave, when she bumped into Rosalind at the elevator. Rosalind, holding a cup of coffee, deliberately bumped into Clara. Can't you watch where you're going? You got my dress dirty again and again. Are you doing this on purpose? Rosalind orchestrated this little drama, then called for bodyguards, demanding they make Clara kneel at the headquarters entrance to atone. Clara refused to submit, but Rosalind escalated, pouring the remaining half cup of coffee on her face. What are you looking at? Not convinced? Let me tell you, Quentin only has me in his heart. No matter what I do, he'll indulge me, let alone punish a mere secretary like you. After delivering this triumphant speech, she left with an arrogant expression. The bodyguards dragged Clara downstairs and forced her to kneel on the ground. She struggled incessantly, but couldn't break free. She could only try to reason with them. I've already resigned. I'm no longer Quentin Preston's secretary. What right do you have to force me to kneel? The bodyguards remained unmoved, their tone utterly cold. Mr. Preston has instructed that Miss Ainsworth's wishes are his wishes. Whatever she requests, we must comply. Miss Sterling, you can save those words for Mr. Preston. A few words completely silenced Clara. She knew that no matter what she said, they wouldn't listen, so she gave up struggling. Colleagues and passers-by saw her, whispering amongst themselves, some even taking photos. In the dead of winter, she knelt outside for 7 full hours, her knees scraped raw. Her face turned purple from the cold, and she shivered constantly, holding on only by sheer willpower. As it neared an hour before closing time, Clara's consciousness was already fading when she suddenly heard someone call her name. She forced herself to look up and saw Imogen running towards her. Clara, you just got out of the hospital. Why are you kneeling here? Who's deliberately tormenting you? Clara's throat was dry. She instinctively said, It's Rosalind Ainsworth. Chapter 9. Hearing that name, Imogen Preston's anger flared. Supporting Clara, she stormed into Quentin Preston's office. "Rosalind Ainsworth, don't push your luck. Clara didn't even offend you. What right do you have to make her kneel? She's my brother's secretary. She has nothing to do with you." "What kind of CEO's wife act are you putting on here?" Quentin was also there. Seeing Clara's wretched state, he frowned. Just as he was about to ask what happened, Rosalind threw herself into his arms. "Quentin, I have no grudge against Miss Sterling. Why would I suddenly make her kneel? I don't know how I offended her for her to slander me like this." Hearing Rosalind still making false counter-accusations, Imogen was furious. She rushed up to Rosalind and slapped her. "You're lying. Clara never lies." It was the first time Rosalind had ever been treated this way. She immediately covered her face and burst into tears. "Quentin, your secretary is slandering me like this, and now even your sister is helping her bully me. Fine, you're all family. Let's break up." Hearing this, Quentin panicked, then his face hardened. He stood up and slapped Imogen. "Enough, Imogen. How long are you going to keep this up? Rosalind is your sister-in-law." Then, he looked coldly at Clara. "Why did you slander Rosalind for no reason? If there's a next time, you don't need to be a secretary anymore." Imogen covered her face, looking at her brother in shock. Clara, however, deeply regretted dragging her into this and quickly pulled her away. Imogen was fuming and wanted to go back to argue for her. Clara had no choice but to tell her that she had already resigned and was planning to leave Kingsbridge. Imogen shook her head, choking back sobs. Hearing she was leaving, Imogen was both reluctant and sad. She forgot about causing trouble and hugged Clara, crying incessantly, begging her not to go. Clara just looked at her with reddened eyes, stroking her back. "Imogen, all good things must come to an end." Imogen instantly cried even harder. On their last day in Kingsbridge, the two friends had a meal together, filled with endless sighs. That night, Imogen didn't go back home but squeezed into the small rental apartment with her. Clara repeatedly assured her that even after returning home, she would contact her every day. If she met a prospective date she liked, she would tell Imogen immediately. The two talked all night, covering topics about the past, present, and future. At dawn, Imogen personally saw Clara off to the airport. As they were saying their reluctant goodbyes, a message from Quentin arrived, asking Imogen where she was. She was still resentful about last night's incident and was about to call him to yell, but Clara quickly stopped her. "Forget it, Imogen. Let the past be the past. Don't get into conflicts with Rosalind because of me anymore. After all, your brother really loves her. In the future, she will be your sister-in-law. You two should get along well." Hearing this, Imogen's eyes reddened again. Soon, it was time to board. She waved goodbye to Imogen and turned to walk into the boarding gate. Before boarding the plane, she sent Quentin one last message. 8 years of secret love, 4 years of absurdity, it all ends here. Mr. Preston, from now on, I am no longer your secretary, nor do I like you anymore. We go our separate ways, and in this lifetime, we need not meet again. After sending it, she didn't care about his reply and directly blocked all his contact methods. Then, without looking back, she boarded the plane. Chapter 10. When that message was sent, Quentin Preston was drying his hair. He heard his phone make a sound and was about to pick it up when Rosalind Ainsworth snatched it. "Let me see for you," she said, shaking the phone with a sweet smile. Quentin, unable to refuse her, smiled and said, "Okay." His phone had long been set up with Rosalind's fingerprint recognition. The woman skillfully opened the chat window with Clara Sterling and saw the message. A flicker of disdain crossed her eyes, and with a tap of her finger, she deleted it. She had known about Quentin and Clara's affair from the first day she returned. In her eyes, it was merely Clara's unrequited affection. Everyone knew Quentin was a lovesick fool, head over heels in love with her. How could he possibly fall for someone else? After deleting the message, she also saw several work emails from partners and deleted those as well. Just then, Quentin finished drying his hair. The man, still smelling of shower gel, leaned over and embraced her. "What message was it?" Rosalind turned and hugged him back, casually placing the phone aside. "Just spam. Don't worry about it. Shall we continue?" She smiled, her nightgown occasionally revealing glimpses of her skin, making Quentin's eyes burn with desire. The man's Adam's apple bobbed. He nodded and said, "Okay," no longer caring about his phone, and carried Rosalind to the bed. a night of passion ensued. Quentin was still asleep when his phone suddenly rang. He initially didn't want to bother, but the ringing persisted, annoying him to no end. He wasn't supposed to have any work today. Looking at the woman still sleeping in his arms, Quentin picked up the phone, his voice low but full of impatience. "What is it?" "It's the weekend. There shouldn't be any work scheduled." It was his other secretary on the line, her voice panicked. "Our partners emailed you yesterday they're coming for a meeting today. They've already arrived, Mr. Preston. Everyone's waiting for you." "What? When did this happen? I never received any email." Quentin's sleepiness vanished instantly. He sat up and quickly changed his clothes, his brow deeply furrowed. Why didn't Clara Sterling inform me about something so important? What on earth is she doing? Can she bear the responsibility if the company suffers a significant loss? Tell Clara Sterling to come pick me up immediately. His voice was laced with anger. He thought Clara was still upset and therefore neglecting her work. Unexpectedly, the assistant on the other end hesitated, then said cautiously, "Mr. Preston, Miss Sterling has already resigned." This sentence struck him like a thunderbolt. Quentin couldn't help but grip his phone tighter. When did this happen? Did I approve her resignation? Tell her to come back immediately. She's not allowed to resign until I agree. At this moment, he couldn't care less about Rosalind still sleeping in bed and roared into the phone. How dare Clara Sterling resign? Just because of those trivial matters. He had clearly said that Rosalind was the most important person in his life. He would find a way to compensate for the grievances Clara had suffered. How could she just resign without a word? The man's eyes darkened, clearly enraged to the extreme, terrifying the secretary on the other end into silence. Just as his patience was about to run out, a slender arm wrapped around his waist. "What's wrong, Quentin?" It was Rosalind, speaking softly as if she had just been woken up. Seeing her like this, Quentin couldn't help but soften his voice. "It's work stuff. You don't need to worry about it. Go back to sleep." He planned to go to the company. No matter what, he couldn't afford to offend the partners. But Rosalind clung to him, acting coquettishly. "Sleep with me, please. It's still early, Quentin. Don't leave me, okay?" Her gentle words made his Adam's apple bob, reminding him of last night. He couldn't resist pulling Rosalind into his arms and lying back down on the bed. By the time he had lulled her back to sleep, another half-hour had passed. His phone was flooded with missed calls from his secretary. His eyes darkened and he replied to the messages. "Reschedule today's meeting to the afternoon." Soon, the secretary replied, "Mr. Preston, they've already left. The contract is off too." His heart tightened, but then, looking at the sweet sleeping face of the person in his arms, he felt it was all worth it. His lips curved up for a moment, then turned down. He smiled, then his smile faded, or a small smile touched his lips, then vanished. A small smile touched his lips, then vanished. He remembered the discrepancy in what the secretary said. Quentin opened his email. There were no new messages. He remembered Rosalind looking at his phone last night. With a sliver of hope, he checked the trash folder. His face turned pale, and he clenched his teeth. Chapter 11, in the trash folder, were indeed several emails from partners, sent precisely when he hadn't had a chance to check his phone the previous night. And the only person who had touched his phone last night was Rosalind Ainsworth. Anger simmered within him. Rosalind, knowing nothing, had presumptuously deleted his work emails. Losing this deal would cost his company at least 10 of its profits moreover. For such an important meeting today, Clara Sterling hadn't even notified him. In the past, even if an email was sent, Clara would have everything prepared in the morning. If she hadn't been throwing a tantrum this time, how could they have lost the partners so easily? He dialed Clara's number, intending to question her, but no one answered. No matter how many times he called, it was the same electronic voice. His heart suddenly lurched with panic. A thought struck him. He opened the trash folder again and, to his horror, found the message Clara had sent him, timed just last night. He restored it. The message popped up, stinging his eyes. 8 years of secret love, 4 years of absurdity, it all ends here. "Mr. Preston, from now on, I am no longer your secretary, nor do I like you anymore. We go our separate ways, and in this lifetime we need not meet again." For some reason, seeing this message, he should have felt relieved. Clara finally no longer liked him. Just as he had said, she would no longer waste her life pining for him. But when truly faced with the news of her departure, An unbearable sense of suffocation gripped his heart, as if he had lost something incredibly important. He couldn't help but recall his past with Clara. 4 years ago, an accident had led them to bed. At the time, his heart was full of Rosalind. He only wanted to pay off his sister's best friend with money, never once considering starting anything with her. But Clara's eyes were bright, yet cautious, like a small animal, making it impossible for him to cruelly refuse her. He could only tacitly allow it to happen. They had their reckless encounters in various places, leaving traces of each other everywhere. For 4 years, she was his best secretary and his best lover. She never proactively demanded anything, only silently enduring his advances. Even without a title or recognition, she was content. Quentin had thought countless times that Clara Sterling was a foolish person, giving her all for just a little bit of kindness. He had told her not to imagine a future with him. He would only belong to Rosalind. Now that he had finally gotten rid of this little shadow, why wasn't he as happy as he thought he would be? He stared at the message for a long time, then finally let it go. If Clara was gone, she was gone. This was their respective path. He put down his phone, stopped looking at it, and peacefully held Rosalind, continuing to sleep. To suppress the discomfort in his heart, he postponed work for several more days to spend time with Rosalind. Whether it was jewelry or haute couture gowns she fancied, he bought them all. But the more he did so, the more uneasy he felt, a persistent annoyance clouding his brow. Rosalind, completely oblivious, was fully immersed in their outings. While waiting for her, Quentin couldn't resist taking out his phone and opening his chat with Clara. Their last conversation was a month ago. Since Rosalind's return, he hadn't contacted Clara at all. An impulse rose within him. His fingers slowly typed and sent a message. "You can come back and continue to be my secretary anytime." The condescending offer he thought he was making was blocked by a glaring red exclamation mark, unseen by her. This was the first time in all these years that Clara had blocked him. Quentin's hand trembled slightly as he stared intently at the screen until Rosalind returned. "Quentin, sorry to keep you waiting. Shall we go see the aurora tomorrow?" The woman, changed into a beautiful dress, clung to his arm, acting coquettishly. He turned off his phone, showing no outward sign of anything unusual, but he had no heart to appreciate her beauty. "I should go back to the company tomorrow. I've been away for so long, a lot of business has piled up. How about I take care of it and then spend time with you?" As the CEO of the company, he had many major decisions and important meetings waiting for him. Taking these few days off was already a stretch. To accompany Rosalind, his company had been losing money during this period. The woman's brow furrowed, clearly a little unhappy, but she could only pout. "All right, but I want to go with you. I'll help you, Quentin." Rosalind smiled, sweetening his heart a little, and he stopped thinking about Clara. Chapter 12. Upon arriving at the company, several secretaries immediately surrounded him. "Mr. Preston, you're finally here. This is the company's profit and loss statement for this period. These are the partners who want to cancel their cooperation with us. The situation is very urgent. And this is the staff turnover for this period." A batch of senior employees are discussing resignation. Quentin Preston's brow furrowed deeply. He had only been away from the company for a short time. Why had things gotten to this state? He took the documents, his head aching as he looked through them, then slammed them heavily on the floor. "What on earth are you all paid for? I was only gone for a few days, and we've lost this much. Couldn't you retain those partners until I returned?" With a loud thud, the folder hit the ground, silencing all the secretaries. After a long pause, one of them finally spoke softly. "Miss Sterling usually handles these matters, Mr. Preston. That Clara—" He instinctively started to call for her, then remembered Clara Sterling had long since resigned. His face darkened several shades more, and he replied grimly, "If Clara Sterling could do those things, can't you?" No one dared to speak again. Clara had worked diligently for 4 years, a fact everyone had witnessed. They admitted they couldn't do as well. In the momentarily silent office, Rosalind Ainsworth giggled. "Don't be angry, Quentin. So what if one secretary left? I can do it. I'll definitely do a better job than Clara Sterling. You rest for a bit, let me help you with these things." Quentin smiled with relief. "Thank you, Rosalind. From now on, all of you will listen to Rosalind." With that, Quentin took the urgent documents back to his office to handle, leaving Rosalind and the other secretaries behind. As soon as he left, Rosalind's expression changed. She scanned the secretaries, then suddenly slapped each one across the face, sneering. "I see you're all shameless. Getting so close to Mr. Preston just now, what were you trying to do, seduce him?" These words terrified the secretaries. They covered their faces and quickly explained. "How could that be? We were just doing our jobs. Don't slander us." Rosalind couldn't stand to hear their words. She called for bodyguards and had all the secretaries dragged out, forbidding them from ever appearing in the company again. After doing this, she deliberately changed into professional attire. Black stockings encasing her thighs, a hip-hugging skirt that barely reached her upper legs, revealing everything with a slight bend. She knocked on the office door, and after getting Quentin's response, swayed her hips as she walked in. "Mr. Preston," she spoke seductively, her eyes alluring. But with too many company affairs at hand, Quentin was in no mood for intimacy. He called her name softly, his brow slightly furrowed. "Rosalind, what are you wearing this for? We're too busy right now. Can we focus on work first?" Rosalind ignored Quentin's refusal and sat on the man's lap, her charms fully displayed. "We can get busy later, Quentin." As she spoke, the woman's arms wrapped around him, her body leaning against Quentin's embrace as if boneless. His Adam's apple bobbed. He couldn't resist the temptation. He swept Rosalind up, placed her on the desk, and his fiery kisses rained down. They didn't stop until noon. Rosalind's stockings were torn, her neck dotted with red marks. Quentin's collar was also disheveled. He glanced at his watch. It was already this late, and his secretary hadn't even brought lunch. If it were Clara, she would never forget these things. His face darkened, and he dialed his secretary's number. "What's going on? You even forgot to bring lunch? Do none of you want to work anymore?" "Mr. Preston, Miss Ainsworth kicked us all out. We've thought about it, and we'd like to end our employment here. We don't have Miss Sterling's tolerance to endure this again and again." The secretary blurted out, her voice full of helplessness. Quentin didn't quite register and instinctively asked, "What happened to Clara Sterling?" On the other end, the secretary sighed and sent him a file. "It's all in there, Mr. Preston." With that, she hung up. Quentin, filled with suspicion and a growing sense of panic, opened the file. He discovered it was full of evidence of Rosalind's self-orchestrated schemes. From her return until today, every incident she had blamed on Clara was, in fact, a slanderous act she had staged herself. The more Quentin read, the more horrified he became. The emotions suppressed deep within him could no longer be hidden. He never imagined Rosalind could do such things, and Clara, during this time, had suffered so many injustices. His heart felt as if it stopped at that moment, and he stared at the words for a long, long time. Rosalind sat lazily in her chair. Seeing Quentin inexplicably still, she cooed. "Quentin, what's wrong? Didn't you say you'd have someone bring lunch? I'm hungry." Then, Quentin slowly turned his head, his eyes no longer holding the familiar adoration for her. Chapter 13, Quentin. As if unable to believe what she was seeing, Rosalind Ainsworth called his name again. But Quentin Preston's expression remained unchanged, making her suddenly feel flustered. The man spoke coldly. "Why did you do it?" She didn't understand. "What are you talking about, Quentin?" But the next second, the man yelled as if he had gone mad. "I'm asking you why you did it. Why did you slander Clara Sterling?" Although frightened by his tone, hearing the secretary's name, Rosalind was still very confused. "Isn't she just a secretary? What's the big deal?" "Quentin, why are you so angry? Didn't you yourself say she was just a secretary?" She said it with such righteousness that it suddenly deflated Quentin. Yes, he was the one who let her go. Why was he so angry now? Rosalind approached, wanting to hug him. "Don't be angry, Quentin. Let's go eat." But hearing that cloying voice, Quentin's irritation grew. His mind was filled with Clara's face, having suffered so much injustice, while he himself had chosen to hurt her time and time again, instead of believing her. How sad must she have felt then? The more he thought, the harder it was to breathe. He didn't even have the patience to put on a pleasant face and pushed Rosalind away. "If you want to eat, go eat by yourself. I'm not in the mood right now." He hadn't pushed her hard. The woman stumbled back a few steps, but her face was full of disbelief. The man who had been so doting on her these past few days had actually pushed her for someone else, and that person was Clara Sterling. a secretary who had already resigned. Rosalind's temper flared. "Quentin Preston, what are you doing? You're treating me like this for Clara Sterling, a mere secretary next. Are you going to break up with me and chase after that secretary?" Rosalind's words made Quentin miserable. He didn't know what he was doing now, why he felt uncomfortable, why he was sad. Shouldn't he be happy that Clara was gone? They shouldn't have started in the first place. But now he could only clench his fists, trying his best to control his emotions. "I'm just too tired. Go eat by yourself first." Rosalind snorted coldly, no longer paying him any attention, and turned to leave. Facing the mess in the office, Quentin felt a headache. He didn't ask anyone to bring food again, but threw himself into work, trying to forget those things. He worked from afternoon until evening, finally resolving the company's recent issues. Ironically, more than half of them were caused by Rosalind. To clean up her messes, he had practically lost all of his company's profits for the year. He sat up straight, leaning back in his chair and taking a deep breath. It was already dark outside. He looked at his phone again, not a single message. His heart felt empty, an indescribable weariness and loneliness washing over him. Now, he was the only one left in the company. He couldn't help but say, "Clara Sterling." This was the first time he had called out her name since she left. These two words seemed to carry a spell. Once uttered, he inevitably thought more about her. In the past, no matter how late it was, she would accompany him at work, arranging everything meticulously. They would be intimate by the office's floor-to-ceiling windows. Clara's face would be flushed red with shyness, like a sunset, incredibly cute. Her eyes were as innocent as a fawn's. Every time she was bullied too much, her eyes would glisten with tears, but she didn't know that such an expression would provoke even more impulsive reactions. More and more memories flooded his mind. He could no longer control his emotions. He picked up his phone and dialed his sister's number. After a few dozen seconds that felt longer than half a lifetime, he finally heard the call connect and spoke impatiently. "Imogen, do you know where Clara Sterling went?" His sister let out a sarcastic laugh. "Bro, you're so lovey-dovey with Rosalind Ainsworth. Why are you looking for Clara?" His Adam's apple bobbed. He gripped the phone tightly. "I know everything now. Those things that happened before, it was all Rosalind's doing. I want to bring Rosalind to apologize to Clara. She can come back. I won't let Rosalind trouble her any more in the future." Before he could finish, this self-righteous apology was interrupted by Imogen's cold laugh. "No need. Clara doesn't need your apologies anymore. And you'll never find her in your lifetime." With that, Imogen hung up. Hearing the busy tone from the other end, a wave of regret and helplessness washed over his chest. He angrily slammed his phone on the floor. Immediately after, he heard the office door push open. He stood up abruptly, thinking the person he longed for had returned. "Claire!" He looked towards the door, full of hope. Chapter 14. The person who entered was not the one he longed for, but Rosalind Ainsworth. The woman had clearly heard the name he blurted out. She couldn't understand why a mere secretary was always a thorn in her side. She looked at the dejected Quentin Preston, unable to bear this contrast. "Why is it Clara Sterling again, Quentin? Are you really in love with her?" she questioned. Quentin didn't answer. Realizing the person who entered wasn't Clara, his mind was elsewhere. But seeing him like this further enraged Rosalind. Her eyes filled with tears, feeling incredibly wronged, she screamed hysterically. "She's just a secretary, a hussy. I knew from the first day I came back that her intentions towards you weren't pure." "It's good that kind of person is gone, Quentin. Didn't you say you only loved me? What do you mean by this now? Are you in love with her?" Faced with Rosalind's incessant questioning, Quentin's mind was in turmoil, utterly silent. But Rosalind was used to a life of being doted upon. The more she was neglected, the more she hated Clara. She violently swept the things off the desk. "I heard you just now. You asked where Clara Sterling went. You still want to find her. You still want her back. You are in love with her." Reaching his limit, the look in Quentin's eyes towards Rosalind no longer held any of its former affection. He completely failed to understand why he had ever liked such a person, unreasonable, willful, and spoiled. She had even driven Clara away. Thinking of this, Quentin could no longer hold back. He responded, his eyes red. "So what if I am in love with Clara Sterling? Do you even know what you've done during this time?" Once he started, the anger could no longer be contained. Quentin advanced step by step. You dismissed all my secretaries and even took it upon yourself to delete work emails from my phone, causing several partners to want to terminate their cooperation in the company. I gave you authority, and you just lorded it over everyone, bullying employees, leading them all to clamor for resignation. Do you know how much profit you've cost my company these days? I can overlook all of that, but why did you have to drive Clara Sterling away? You framed her time and time again, causing her to be unable to bear it and leave me. You're right, I do like Clara Sterling. I've fallen in love with her. You were gone for so long. These past few years it was Clara who accompanied me. Rosalind Ainsworth, what right do you have to say anything about her? He roared, his eyes dark and terrifying, frightening Rosalind. She couldn't help but tremble, tears welling in her eyes, but she remained stubborn. Just because she's only a secretary, what does she amount to? Slap! Before she could finish her words, Quentin raised his hand and slapped her hard. The crisp sound stunned Rosalind. He had actually hit her. The tears that had been welling up instantly fell. Rosalind cried and flailed her arms. You hit me, Quentin Preston. You actually hit me. You were the one who kept saying you loved me, and now you hit me for a secretary, but her struggles were useless. After recognizing his own feelings, Quentin looked at her as if she were someone utterly disgusting. He grabbed the woman's hand and, without hesitation, slapped her again. With a heavy sound, Rosalind's head was knocked progitos, her face immediately swelling, but the anger in the man's eyes did not diminish, his words icy. Clara Sterling suffered even more than this. What's hitting you? I want you to apologize to Claire. Chapter 15, the man's eyes were cold. If he had felt a shred of pity for her before, now, even that little bit of hesitation was gone. Now he only found her disgusting. How could he have done so much for her, constantly hurting Clara Sterling? Quentin Preston's fingers clenched, his expression filled with a chilling coldness that terrified Rosalind Ainsworth. She had never seen Quentin like this. He had always been so good to her, granting her every wish. It was all because of that woman. Clara Rosalind's eyes were venomous, wishing she could cut Clara into 1,000 pieces. Quentin naturally saw it. He only hated himself for seeing her true colors so late, making Clara suffer so much for no reason. He let out a cold laugh, utterly chilling. Now it's time to give everything back to Claire. Saying this, he grabbed her, intending to drag her out. The man's furious demeanor terrified Rosalind. She disregarded her dignity and struggled frantically, but she couldn't break free. She was dragged outside, to the office doorway, and then several bodyguards came and held her down. Since you like making people kneel, then you'll kneel until tomorrow morning. He ordered the bodyguards to watch her, ignoring Rosalind's cries from behind him, and turned to leave. His mind was now completely filled with Clara. Once he admitted he loved her, he realized how terribly wrong he had been all along. In their 4 years together, he had long become inseparable from her, yet he refused to admit it, only realizing his regret after completely losing her. In the car, he slammed the steering wheel hard, then, like a madman, threw out all the decorations Rosalind had left in the car. These were all things Clara disliked. He had to clean them all out, whether it was the dolls in the car, the seat cushions, or the snacks he had specially bought. He threw them all out recklessly. But no matter how he looked, this car no longer held any memories of him and Clara. They had been reckless in the car so many times, yet he couldn't find a single trace of her. At this moment, Quentin finally understood what it meant for one's heart to be cut by a knife. He couldn't bear it anymore. He smashed his car until it was unrecognizable, venting his inner rage, then drove another car back to the villa. Even here, it was the same, all transformed into Rosalind's preferred style. She had only been back for a short month, yet she had completely overshadowed Clara's 4 years. Quentin's eyes were red. He stood in the villa but felt like he couldn't breathe. Those glaring pink colors were like knives cutting into his heart. He desperately searched for anything Clara had left behind, even just a hair tie would do, but there was nothing. His helplessness reached its peak. He could only vent by smashing everything inside. He didn't dare to rest. Once he closed his eyes, Clara would appear in his mind. That day, he had clearly seen her packing her things but hadn't stopped her, watching helplessly as she took everything away, leaving nothing behind. Ah, he roared in pain, wishing he could go back in time and ask himself, "Your heart clearly felt reluctant, why didn't you do anything?" He sat in the villa desolately all night, trying to absorb the last bit of warmth belonging to Clara. When morning came, his assistant arrived. "Mr. Preston, it's time to go to the company. Miss Ainsworth is still waiting for you," he reminded him tactfully. Quentin lifted his bloodshot eyes, his heart filled only with hatred. If it weren't for Rosalind, how could Clara have left him? This was all Rosalind's fault. "Drive to the company," he said, his voice so hoarse it was almost unrecognizable. Chapter 16. He arrived at the company just as work hours began. Employees bustled about, all casting curious glances towards a certain area of the office. Rosalind Ainsworth was disheveled. She hadn't slept all night, forced by the bodyguards to kneel rigidly on the ground. She was on the verge of fainting, but what she found most unbearable were the gazes of the people coming and going. She had been so glamorous before, yet now she was so humiliated in public. Rosalind wished she could kill Clara Sterling. She collapsed and screamed. "Clara Sterling, it's all your fault, you hussy, it's all your fault otherwise. Quentin wouldn't treat me like this. Why don't you just die? It would be better if you died. Daring to seduce Quentin, you're just a tramp," she screamed incessantly. Everyone heard her curses, but times had changed. Having fallen from grace, her behavior now drew the scorn of others. Some colleagues who were on good terms with Clara retorted against Rosalind. "How can you say that about Miss Sterling? She worked diligently for 4 years and never did anything wrong. It was you who started bullying her as soon as you arrived." "That's right, Claire did nothing wrong. Miss Ainsworth, you've gone too far. Claire is already gone, and you still won't let her go. It was clearly you who kept provoking Miss Sterling, and now you're blaming others. I think you're the real tramp." Whispers circulated around her, people pointing and staring as if she were a madwoman. Rosalind was about to die of anger. She wanted to get up and slap each of these people, but because the bodyguards held her down, she could only remain kneeling on the ground, screaming. "You're all tramps. What did Clara Sterling give you that you all side with her? Did she sell herself to you?" She raved madly, spouting all sorts of nonsense, causing others to frown. At this moment, Quentin Preston, who had just arrived, heard all of this, his expression growing even colder. His intention had been for Rosalind to kneel here and realize her mistakes. He never thought she would still be so obstinate, blaming everything on Clara. He strode over quickly. The company employees, seeing their boss arrive, consciously made way. Even the bodyguards released their grip. Freed, Rosalind scrambled recklessly to Quentin's feet, hugging the man's legs and crying with a resentful expression. "Quentin, help me look at these people. They're all Clara Sterling's lackeys. I'm being bullied. Quentin, quickly fire them all, fire them." As she spoke, she turned her head and fiercely pointed her finger at those who had just refuted her. Her and him, they're all tramps. Rosalind was furious. The employees she pointed at lowered their heads, not daring to speak. However, Quentin did not, as Rosalind expected, help her vent her anger. Instead, he kicked her away. "I told you to reflect, and this is how you do it. Rosalind Ainsworth, you're nothing now, yet you still dare to slander others. I never realized your heart was so malicious." "I heard what they said just now. They weren't wrong. Clara Sterling did nothing wrong either. It was all you drove her away." Rosalind fell to the ground, tears in her eyes. "The person you love is me, Quentin. You love me?" Quentin looked down at her coldly. "The person I love is Clara Sterling." He said this, a sentence that surprised everyone. Some were astonished, some shocked, but Quentin felt good. He was 4 years late in saying this, but he had finally said it. He curled his lips into a smile, ignoring Rosalind's devastated expression, and repeated it. "I love Clara Sterling. As for you, my feelings for you are long gone. This whole period was a mistake. I will find Clara and be with her. Rosalind Ainsworth, you can go." The woman's pupils dilated, filled with disbelief. Truly receiving this answer, she cried and laughed at the same time. "You want me to go? Quentin Preston, let me tell you, Clara Sterling wasn't driven away by me, it was you. Do you think I don't know what you two did? You slept with her for 4 years and never gave her any status. As soon as I came back, you eagerly came running. The person who truly drove her away was you. His relationship with Clara had never been exposed in the company." When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Quentin's recently calmed expression also turned grim. Chapter 17, Abandoned, Rosalind Ainsworth didn't care anymore. Throwing caution to the wind, she revealed everything she knew, laughing mockingly. "Do you know what I found in your car?" Clara Sterling's stockings, you too must have done it in the car many times, right? Clara Sterling is such an idiot, willingly being your secret lover for 4 years. Quentin Preston. It was you who didn't believe her words, it was you who saw her being tormented, but still chose me. You think I drove Clara away. It was you. With every sentence she spoke, Quentin's face darkened further, his fists clenching. It seems you still haven't realized your mistake, he said, then ordered the bodyguards to restrain Rosalind again and drag her away, leaving only the woman's screams behind. Back at the villa, Quentin had the bodyguards lock her in the basement, forcing her to reenact the slanders she had once inflicted on Clara. Only this time, she was the one suffering. She was forced to hold scalding bowls, her hands blistering red from the heat, or made to kneel for an entire day. Even if she fainted, she had to continue kneeling once she woke up. During this time, Quentin didn't visit her once. He had more important things to do. Since recognizing his own feelings, he had sworn to win Clara back. He went to Imogen Preston's house in the country and knocked on the door. His sister quickly ran to open it, but she seemed not to expect him. The smile on her face froze, replaced by a look of disdain. "What are you doing here?" Quentin, knowing he was at fault, came laden with gifts and smiled at Imogen. "I haven't had a chance to visit since you came back. These are all for you, Imogen." Imogen didn't want to accept his gesture, but Clara was right. No matter what, they were siblings, bound by blood. She let Quentin into the house with a cold face, seeing through his pretense. "You're here to ask about Clara, aren't you? I told you I won't tell you, just give up." Quentin entered the house, put down the gifts, and spoke in a low voice. "Imogen, I know I was wrong. I want to make amends. Can you tell me where Clara went? I won't let Rosalind hurt her anymore. I'll be good to her from now on. Aren't you her best friend? If Clara and I get together, you can see her every day too." Imogen quickly cut him off. "Even without you, Clara and I are best friends. As long as she's happy, I don't care where she is. Bro, you've hurt her so many times, and you still think you can win her back. You were the one who told me Rosalind was my sister-in-law." The man's words caught in his throat. He said nothing. But Imogen, being naturally outspoken, got angry just thinking about the grievances Clara had suffered. Seeing Quentin silent, she became even more sarcastic. "For Rosalind, you not only hit me, but you also hit Clara. Bro, now you say you're sorry, don't you think it's too late? Let me tell you, Clara is doing very well abroad now." Hearing this, Quentin swayed. He took a deep breath and lowered his head before his sister. "Sis, I know I was wrong. I've already punished Rosalind. If you don't believe me, I can take you to see. Tell Claire I know I was wrong. Claire loves me so much. She loved me for 8 years, a whole 8 years. She will definitely forgive me. Sis, help me this once, I'm begging you." The faster he spoke, the more it seemed like something was chasing him, his eyes reddening. But these words sounded utterly ridiculous to Imogen. For the first time, she found her brother so laughable. "You also know she loved you for 8 years, so how did you treat her? You treated her as a bed partner, a tool, a pet you could summon and dismiss. At will, you were the one who exhausted her love. Now that Clara is gone, you know you were wrong. Bro, she's human too, she feels pain." Hearing his own sister's words, Quentin's remorse deepened. His voice hoarse, his eyes bloodshot, he knelt down directly. "Imogen, at least let me see Claire once, just once. If she really doesn't forgive me, I'll never bother her again." Growing up, Quentin had never begged anyone. This was the first time he had knelt before someone, and it was his own sister, all for Clara, a woman who had left him. Imogen never expected her proud brother to go to such lengths, but she couldn't bring herself to betray her best friend for her brother. Imogen gritted her teeth in frustration. "I can ask for you. If Clara is willing to see you, I'll tell you her current address." The man, who had already lost hope, instantly brightened, nodding eagerly. Chapter 18. Imogen Preston sent a message to Clara Sterling, but there was a time difference of several hours between their countries. Imogen advised him to go back first, promising to notify him as soon as she heard anything, but Quentin Preston refused to leave. He stubbornly stayed at his sister's residence, sleeping on the sofa, waking up at the slightest sound, hoping for news from Clara. It wasn't until the next evening that Imogen received a reply. "All right, I'll meet him once." Just a few short words, but they brought hope to Quentin. Clara was willing to see him. This meant there was still a chance for them. With an excited heart, Quentin eagerly bought a ticket for the next available flight. Imogen stopped him, frowning disapprovingly. Bro, rest for a day before you go. You haven't rested for days, have you? Since Clara said she'll see you, she definitely won't break her promise. Quentin pulled his hand away. I can't wait any longer. During the time Claire has been away from me, I've been thinking about her day and night. I just want to see her now. His eyes were gentle, a sight that puzzled Imogen. Watching her brother's departing figure, she couldn't help but sigh softly. If you knew this would happen, why did you act that way back then, bro? However, Quentin didn't hear this. His mind was entirely on Clara. The thought of seeing her soon filled him with excitement. Even on the plane, he couldn't rest peacefully. How had she been doing abroad during this time? Had she lost weight? Was she short of money? In a foreign land, she must be uncomfortable. Thinking of her, his heart softened, his mind filled with Clara's image. Initially, the girl's shyness, her secret crush that she thought was seamless, was actually crystal clear to him. But he had been fixated on Rosalind Ainsworth, thus neglecting Clara. Even after their accidental night of passion, he hadn't considered her. Who would have thought that the person who had always been so cautious would suddenly confess to him? He had rejected her, but hadn't rejected that young, vibrant body. They had been intimately entangled in various places. Clara was very sensible. She wouldn't do things for money or status like other women. This was good, very much to his liking, and this was why he had always tacitly allowed her presence. If Rosalind hadn't suddenly returned, he had even once thought that maintaining such a relationship with Clara would be perfectly fine. When exactly had he fallen in love with her? Was it when he saw her diligence, noticed her thoughtfulness, or felt her love? Quentin couldn't say. These 4 years had passed too quickly. Before he realized it, he had already been captured by Clara. But he understood too late, which was why she left. But not anymore. He had thought it through. As long as Clara could forgive him, he would do anything. He wouldn't make her just a bed partner like before. He would openly announce their relationship. He would marry her, love her for a lifetime, and spend his entire life making up for the hurt she had suffered during this time. Thinking about Clara returning to his side, Quentin couldn't help but smile. Happiness filled his chest, making him eagerly anticipate the moment he would see her. After an 8-hour flight, they finally landed. Quentin eagerly rushed to the agreed-upon address to meet the person he deeply loved. Chapter 19, they had arranged to meet at a coffee shop. When Quentin Preston pushed open the door, a wind chime tinkled. He walked in and immediately spotted Clara Sterling sitting in a corner. They hadn't seen each other for a month, yet it felt like an agonizing year, so much so that finally seeing her now, Quentin felt a sense of dazed unreality. She had changed a lot. When she was by his side, because her role was that of a secretary, she most often wore work attire. Even though they would engage in some playful activities at home after work, Clara always gave him a serious impression. But now she was wearing casual clothes, her hair tied up, revealing her fair, slender neck. It made him feel as if he had returned to the past, to when they first started, when Clara was shyly crushing on him. He paused for a few seconds before walking over, smiling as he greeted her. Claire, long time no see. He restrained the urge to immediately pull her into his arms, his gaze lingering on her face, greedy and mesmerized. Yes, let's keep it brief. I agreed to see you only to make things clear between us. Clara was in no mood for reminiscing. She took a sip of coffee and was about to continue when Quentin quickly interjected. I know what you mean. It was all my fault before. I didn't recognize my true feelings, and that's why I let Rosalind Ainsworth hurt you. Claire, I realize now that I love you. The person I truly love is only you. He said it all in one breath, his eyes shining, expectantly awaiting Clara's response. In his imagination, Clara, who loved him so much, would surely forgive him and return to the country with him. But from beginning to end, the woman's expression didn't change. She merely curled her lips into an impassive smile. Quentin Preston, it's too late. For both your apology and your love. If you're done talking, then I'll leave. I don't think there's anything necessary to discuss with you. Quentin's face changed. He instinctively grabbed the woman's hand, his expression becoming flustered. It's not too late, Claire. We still have a future. I've already punished Rosalind. As long as you come back, I can give you anything. It's been 4 years. Just because of this 1 month, do you not love me anymore? I know you're still angry in your heart. You can hit me or scold me, whatever you want. Claire, I beg you, come back, okay? Clara shook off his hand, her tone light as she replied. That's right. It was because of this 1 month that I saw you clearly. I don't love you anymore, Quentin Preston, and I won't go back. I wish you and Rosalind Ainsworth a happy life together. As she spoke, she stood up to leave. Quentin had never expected this kind of reaction. In his heart, Clara had always loved him to the core. How could she suddenly stop loving him? An unprecedented panic washed over him. When he learned Clara had left, he consoled himself that she still loved him. But now, actually seeing her, she said she didn't love him anymore at this moment. Quentin felt as if his heart was being pierced by a knife. He tightly gripped Clara's hand, unwilling to let go. His usually proud frame trembled, and he lowered his stance, his voice even carrying a pitiful, tearful tone. Claire, don't do this to me. I really know I was wrong. As long as you're willing to forgive me, we'll go back and get married immediately. I won't let you be nameless and unrecognized anymore. In the company, if you want to continue as a secretary, you can. If not, you can stay at home and be a wealthy wife. I'll earn money for you. From now on, what's mine is yours. No matter who appears, I won't hurt you. Claire, I beg you, forgive me this once. We've been together for so long. You can't just abandon me because I made one mistake, Claire. If it were before, Clara would have been overjoyed to hear such words. This was the man she had loved for 8 whole years. They were finally going to have their happy ending. But now, because of Rosalind, her heart was dead. Those 8 years of feelings no longer existed. The past only made her hate herself for being blind and wasting so much time on Quentin Preston. She took a deep breath and firmly pried Quentin's hand away. Quentin Preston, I've made it very clear. We have no future. Isn't what I'm doing now what you wanted? Back then, I said that as long as the person you loved returned, I would automatically leave. When Rosalind came back, I also hoped that maybe you had developed feelings for me too, that you would let go of Rosalind for my sake. But reality proved me wrong. Looking at her expression, Quentin had a feeling he was about to lose her. He kept shaking his head, crying in front of someone for the first time, almost begging as he tried to reach for her. Claire, I was really wrong. Give me a chance to make it up to you, Claire. Claire, but Clara didn't look back, just left like that, disappearing from his sight. Chapter 20, he sat there, sitting blankly in the coffee shop until closing time before leaving. He didn't know what to do, his heart filled with pain. The more it hurt, the more clearly he perceived how important Clara Sterling was to him. He had actually lost her just like that if Rosalind Ainsworth hadn't returned. If he had realized he loved Clara sooner. If he hadn't disappointed Clara. Countless possibilities flashed through his mind, but there was no turning back for him. He wandered aimlessly on the foreign streets. A clap of thunder, followed by heavy rain. People on the road all ran home to take shelter, but Quentin didn't know where to go. He walked in the rain, muttering Clara's name, completely drenched. Suddenly, his phone rang. He picked it up expectantly. It was a message from Imogen Preston. Bro, come back. He looked at the sentence, suddenly feeling very powerless. How did he and Clara end up like this? He knelt in the downpour, crying and screaming. The sound of the rain drowned out all other noises, including his tormented heart. He staggered to an apartment building. The main door was tightly shut. He didn't dare to knock, just curled up by the entrance. This was Clara's residence. Only here did he feel a sliver of comfort in his heart. He hadn't slept for days. Now, drenched by the rain, lying by the door, he drifted into a drowsy sleep. In his dream, Clara forgave him and returned to the country with him. They were just like before, but different. In the dream, he didn't disappoint Clara again. He immediately announced their relationship and even proposed to her. Clara, with tears in her eyes, threw herself into his arms, saying she had finally waited for this day. Quentin smiled faintly, as if he had grasped his own happiness. Then he fainted in the downpour. When he opened his eyes again, his head throbbed, and his body was difficult to move. He struggled to open his eyes and saw an unfamiliar ceiling. He tried to get out of bed, but the next moment, a gentle voice came. Don't move. It was Clara. Hearing this voice, Quentin forgot everything else and fiercely sat up, pulling the person by the bed into a tight embrace, as if holding on to something precious that had been lost and found. Claire, have you forgiven me? I know I was wrong. I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. Claire, believe me, I was really wrong. I can't live without you. He spoke while crying, waves of remorse surging up, filling his heart with bitterness. He held the person in his arms tightly, unwilling to let go. "Quentin Preston, stop. I'm only doing this for Imogen. If you died at my doorstep, Imogen would be very sad." She frowned, breaking free from his embrace. Only then did Quentin have a chance to look at her face carefully. Her eyes held no emotion, only disgust. Such an expression pierced his heart. His face turned pale, his hands still suspended in midair, not knowing what to do, only staring blankly at Clara, as if looking at the person he loved most but could never have. Sadness filled his entire being. His voice hoarse, he called out her name. "Claire." Clara didn't respond, her eyes cold. "I've already called Imogen. She'll come pick you up. Quentin Preston, don't look for me anymore. I'm doing very well here without you." "Claire, let the past be the past. From the moment you chose Rosalind Ainsworth, we were over." "Claire." The man's voice grew more pained with each utterance. He looked deeply at the person before him, so close, yet feeling so distant, so far that he could never reach her again. "Do we really have no chance?" he asked, with a final sliver of hope. Clara finally looked him in the eye, responding word by word. "Yes, we have no chance anymore." As if pierced by 1,000 arrows, Quentin's heart ached as if it would die. He wanted to reach out to touch her face again, but even this small wish was ruthlessly dodged by Clara. Quentin's eyes were bloodshot, tears falling. "Okay, okay," he said, his heart aching beyond his control. Chapter 21, soon, Imogen Preston arrived. She had rushed over immediately after receiving Clara Sterling's call. The two hadn't seen each other for a month, and Imogen threw herself into her best friend's arms as soon as she arrived. Clara's expression softened as she caught her. "Imogen, you're here." They sat and talked for a while. When it was time to part, Imogen couldn't help but feel guilty. "I'm so sorry, Clara. I shouldn't have been soft-hearted and let my brother come find you. I've caused you so much trouble." Clara pinched her cheek. "It's okay. Even if you hadn't said anything, Quentin Preston would have found a way himself. It's better to get the pain over with quickly. It was good to clear things up this time." Despite this, Imogen still felt very bad. She herself hadn't expected her brother to be so crazy, drenching himself in the rain all night as if he didn't care about his life. She turned her head to look at the person in the distance, who was gazing this way with a mixture of longing and restraint, and couldn't help asking the question she really wanted to know the answer to. "Clara, if Rosalind Ainsworth hadn't appeared, would you have gotten together with my brother?" Quentin also desperately wanted to know the answer. If Rosalind hadn't been there, would Clara have been with him? The person in question smiled faintly. She had once pondered this question too, but after experiencing that month, she already understood clearly. Even without Rosalind, someone else would have appeared. Quentin's love for her was merely a product of regret after loss. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, smiling with relief. No one asked her why. Perhaps they all already had the answer. Imogen took the devastated Quentin back to their country. The Preston family's business had suffered severe losses during this period. Quentin had no heart to manage it anymore and had to temporarily hand it over to Imogen. Poor her, just returned to the country, and she had to clean up her brother's mess. Fortunately, she had studied economics and management abroad, so she wasn't completely clueless. However, when she was about to take over the company, Imogen kindly gave her brother some photos. "When you were abroad, I also found out some things. Take a look." Quentin opened it and found it was about Rosalind. Imogen had discovered that during her years abroad, Rosalind hadn't studied seriously, but had instead fooled around, having relationships with several foreigners, and even having had several abortions. She was no longer the person Quentin remembered. Speaking of which, what was she like back then? Quentin was slightly stunned, realizing he could no longer recall her appearance from that time. 10 years of separation and reunion had worn away that innocent first love. Now, when he closed his eyes, only Clara's face appeared in his mind, sometimes smiling, sometimes sad, vividly tugging at his heart. But after another 10 years, could he really forget Clara just as he had forgotten Rosalind? A sense of hesitation and sorrow arose in his heart, but he himself was the culprit for the current situation. He had clearly known what Rosalind had done, yet because of that vague feeling, those repeated declarations of love, he had pushed Clara away for such a person. Looking at those photos again, his heart felt no ripples, as if it had died along with everything else. "Thanks, Imogen, I won't let you worry for too long." He thanked her in a hoarse voice, then suddenly remembered something and smiled at his sister. "I almost forgot, I still owe you something." As he spoke, he raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. With a heavy sound, that side of his face immediately swelled, startling Imogen. "Bro, what are you doing?" Quentin swallowed the metallic taste in his throat. "I hit you before. I'm sorry, sis. This is to repay you." Imogen's brow furrowed again, not knowing what to say. Her hand, wanting to reach out, rose and fell several times before she finally let out a heavy sigh. "Forget it. Just don't be foolish again in the future. Maybe there will be another Clara. You can't miss out on her then." Imogen smiled and waved. Quentin didn't speak, watching his sister leave. He didn't want to spoil his sister's mood, because everyone knew there would never be another Clara Sterling. A bitter emotion surged up within him, only to be silently swallowed. Quentin picked up the photos in his hand and walked towards the basement. Chapter 22, during this time, Rosalind Ainsworth had been tormented miserably. She couldn't eat or sleep well. Everything she had once done to Clara Sterling was repaid to her 1,000-fold. She shivered in the basement. When the door opened and light streamed in, she didn't immediately realize what was happening. It wasn't until Quentin Preston walked in that she jolted as if waking from a dream, scrambling towards him like he was a lifeline and clinging to him. "Quentin, I was wrong, forgive me, I'll never bother you and Clara Sterling again. I'll go far away and never be an eyesore to you two again. Let me go, please, I really know I was wrong." The woman begged for mercy while sobbing uncontrollably, looking utterly wretched. Quentin didn't speak, carefully examining her face. It had lost its purity and beauty, leaving only endless desire and greed. Why on earth had he lost the most important person because of her? At this thought, anger flared in Quentin. He wished he could cut Rosalind into 1,000 pieces, but Imogen and Claire were right. Ultimately, he was the one who had been temporarily blinded. What Rosalind did was merely to use his power. He calmed himself, threw the photos down. When Rosalind saw their contents, her pupils suddenly shrank in astonishment. Those things were the past she most wanted to bury. She had returned to the country precisely because she couldn't make it abroad anymore, but she never expected them to be dug up. She was flustered, her face filled with helplessness. "No, no, no. This isn't me, Quentin, believe me. This isn't me in there. This must all be photoshopped. Someone is trying to frame me. It's Clara Sterling, isn't it? She doesn't want you to let me go, so she fabricated these things to make you angry." She clutched her head, continuing to speak nonsensically, like a madwoman. "I wasn't like this abroad at all. I went to a top-tier university. I had a good job and a boyfriend who loved me. None of this happened. These are all fake. This shouldn't be my life." As she spoke, she burst into tears. Initially, when she went abroad, she had indeed lived a carefree life. Due to her attractive appearance, she had several ambiguous relationships, all willing to spend money on her. Even if she made mistakes, someone would smooth things over for her. But over time, she didn't know when it started, the people around her began to leave one by one. She failed to get her diploma and could only buy a certificate from a third-rate school. Job hunting was also met with constant setbacks. She couldn't support herself at all. Forced by circumstances, she had to sell her body to win others' favor. But soon, her reputation spread throughout the foreign country. She lost her footing and had no choice but to return to her home country. At first, she was glad there was still a Quentin Preston in her home country, foolishly waiting for her. But now she realized her life hadn't changed. Everything came with a price. She knelt down, wailing and kowtowing, apologizing. Quentin remained expressionless throughout, just watching her. It wasn't until Rosalind had no strength left that he spoke. "You can go." The unexpected answer made the woman's eyes widen in surprise, and she murmured in disbelief. "What? Quentin, what did you say?" Quentin repeated his words. "You can go, Rosalind Ainsworth. From now on, we have no relationship whatsoever. I did indeed love you once, but too much time has passed. Now my heart belongs to someone else." Hearing this, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Or rather, she didn't even know where she could go. Quentin left, no longer bothering with Rosalind. The door remained open. No more bodyguards came to force or torment her. But suddenly, she felt that the unknown future was even more terrifying than the present. After a long time, Rosalind slowly stood up and stumbled out. She left the Preston family. No one knew where she went, and no one cared about her choice. After resting, Quentin took back control of the company. Imogen breathed a sigh of relief. Her childhood ambition was not to manage the family business. She had her own dreams and plans. Chapter 23, a year later, Imogen Preston received a text message from Clara Sterling. Her best friend was getting married and had invited her to be a bridesmaid. Imogen was overjoyed, dropped everything she was doing, and immediately bought a ticket to fly over. Quentin Preston naturally learned this news from his sister. His hand paused for a moment, then he lowered his eyes, pretending to ask casually, "Getting married so soon?" Over the past year, he often heard updates about Clara from his sister and knew she had a boyfriend who loved her very much. But she was actually getting married. He couldn't quite describe the feeling in his heart. Quentin only felt his vision blur, unable to see the words he was writing. He heard a gentle voice from Imogen's phone, which was on speaker. "Yes, it's about time. I finally met the right person, and I don't want to wait any longer." It was Clara. Her voice was calm but held a hint of a smile. It was clear she was very happy. Imogen was packing while talking to her on the phone. "Indeed. But are you planning to settle abroad permanently and not come back? It's such a hassle for me to travel back and forth. You little heartless thing, you don't even come to see me." She scolded jokingly, quickly finishing packing her suitcase, then turned and waved at Quentin. "I'm off, bro." Quentin didn't say anything. It wasn't until Imogen was far away, her figure no longer visible, and the voice from the phone no longer audible, that he slowly put down the pen he was using to sign documents and pressed his palm to his forehead. Tears fell. His heart ached so much it felt like suffocating. So this was what it felt like to watch the woman he deeply loved marry someone else. He had truly lost Clara Sterling. He trembled, unable to stop his painful tears, and began to cry with suppressed sobs. Another year passed. Imogen also got married. Clara returned to the country and, as promised, was her bridesmaid. He hadn't seen her for a long time. Quentin controlled his emotions and, at the wedding, placed his sister's hand in her husband's. Then, his gaze uncontrollably lingered on Clara. Her bridesmaid dress was simple yet beautiful, captivating him so much that his breathing became shallow, afraid to disturb this dream. After the wedding, Quentin accompanied his sister to toast the guests, arriving at Clara's table. "Clara, long time no see," Imogen smiled. Quentin nodded calmly. "Long time no see, Claire." He extended his hand, his wine glass gently clinking against hers. The crisp sound resonated in his excited heart. He wanted to say so many things, like "You've changed a lot. How have you been? Are you happy? You..." Suddenly, a man put his arm around Clara's waist and took the glass for her. "Sorry, Clara's pregnant and can't drink. I'll drink on her behalf." Clara's face flushed slightly. Imogen, however, was greatly surprised. "You're pregnant, Clara. Why didn't you tell me?" "Don't you love me anymore?" she quickly explained, with a touch of shy embarrassment. "It's only been a month. I wanted to wait a while until it was stable before telling you. It's still too early now." Imogen wouldn't accept that. She immediately reserved the godmother position, carefully and joyfully stroking Clara's flat stomach. Her husband's eyes were full of tenderness and adoration, and Clara, too, wore a look of helpless happiness. The three of them gathered together, with only Quentin standing apart like an outsider. So, the best ending was to become strangers. He stared blankly at Clara's happy face, her gentle movements, saw her and her husband leaning intimately together. A dull ache spread through his heart. He raised his own wine glass, murmuring to her, "Congratulations, you've finally found your happiness." With that, he drank it all in one gulp. For the first time, he felt that this wine was so harsh and spicy. He quietly left, no longer disturbing them. A gust of wind blew past. Clara looked up, only to find that the spot where he had been standing was now empty. She felt a momentary daze, then shook her head. The most important people in her life were already by her side.